through the inaugural, much more territory this year compared to the past inaugurals.
And what's the latest on the investigation? You've been tracking the numbers.
Right. So we've got now 122 arrests. These are more than half federal arrests, about 40 of them D.C. arrests for curfew violations. More than 300, I think around 315 open cases, and this extraordinary number. This is not just telephone tips. These are tips that people sent in, pictures and videos that the FBI has been able to go through. So not just the video like the one we just saw, and the FBI has been looking at that, but all these other pictures, people saying, here's a picture that I think is somebody I know. And, you know, one of the most extraordinary things that we've been told here is that among the tipsters are friends and family members of people who were in the Capitol.
And, Frank, what about those reports that the National Guard is being vetted to prevent insider attacks? We know that this is precautionary and customary, but for them to all be vetted at this point, is that a reaction to the fact that so many military people, former military people, were involved in the event on January 6th?
It is indeed. As more and more evidence develops, Andrea, that there were active and former military and police within that insurrectionist crowd, I think this is a very valid precautionary measure. But I want to also caution that this not be some false sense of security. Well, everyone has been checked out by the FBI. Let's understand something, and we learned it painfully during the insurrection. The signs of radicalization really are not that someone has a criminal record or that someone is on a terrorist watch list, but rather that they have online postings that indicate radicalization and an intention for violence. The FBI doesn't have those kinds of resources, nor do they have the time frame in this race against the clock to check out 25,000 people's social media postings, nor may they even have the legal authority to do so. That's my concern.
And the video from inside that the New Yorker took, from inside the Senate chamber, showing them opening desks, taking photos, the military procedures that they seem to be following, what did that tell you from what you saw?
Yeah, there's increasing signs of and evidence of planning and organization and coordination, and it refers back to what we just discussed, people with tactical or intelligence or police backgrounds. And then the other thing that jumps out at me from the New Yorker video is just the radicalization element here. More Trump flags than American flags, comments like Senator Cruz would find it okay if we're here, we're doing this for Trump, an allegiance to personality over country.
And finally, I wanted to ask you about Michael Ellis. He's a former aide to Devin Nunes. He's now been appointed in the last 24 hours by the acting defense secretary, as general counsel of the National Security Agency, against the wishes, we understand, of General Nakasone, the head of that agency. Access to the most sensitive intelligence. It's a last-minute civil service appointment. It's going to be difficult for Joe Biden to remove him. This is very unusual. It's called burrowing, but in this case, putting someone in a very sensitive post who has a very, very aggressive stance against Joe Biden from all of his past behavior.
I can't emphasize enough how sensitive the position of general counsel at NSA is and the kind of access that role has, and the concern that this is a burrowing, a kind of deep state posture where a person would be privy to all kinds of sensitive intercepts and would use them for nefarious purposes. This person has to go, regardless of whether he's a civil servant or not. Let's have the lawsuit about it later. Joe Biden needs to remove him on day one.
Pete Williams, thanks so much. And Frank Figliuzzi, thanks to both of you. And a grim milestone today, coronavirus deaths in the United States now expected